side if they're going to be coming in. If you haven't signed in, we would like it. If you would sign in, I would greatly appreciate it because I like to see the numbers. It kind of justifies my job as the executive director. So anyway, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go tonight because this is a public forum. It's not going to be a debate.
The
It
camera's
is
on
a
this
forum
side.
and it's an
You can pinch and
informational
zoom
forum.
to get it the way you want it.
Just
Keep it pointing that way and don't click finish.
Probably know them, but I'm the one who probably doesn't know anything about any of them really. So, I appreciate the fact that they have come tonight and given us their time to do this. They're going to have between 10 and 15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes to introduce themselves, tell you about themselves and what they want to, information they want to convey to you, to the public, and then after all three of them have had that opportunity, we will open it up for questions. And as time allows, we don't have the crowd I thought we had, so there may be more time allowed than that. But all three sheriff candidates will answer that question, so it's not going to be directed to just a single candidate. All three will be answering the question. And so I appreciate you all coming. I think it's going to be a very informative night. I'm sure that the candidates will be at many other meetings throughout the course of the next few weeks, so what you don't learn tonight, maybe you'll catch at another meeting. Again, we're ready to start, so I want to start with the incumbent Sheriff Waters. And I'm very appreciative he's here. And then I'm going to introduce all three of you, and then we'll get you one at a time. And then candidate Tom Moore, and then candidate Darren Barnell. So if you'll just join me in welcoming them here. We'll start with Sheriff Waters.
How y'all doing this evening? Ooh, that's loud, that's loud. For those of you that don't know me, my name is, that is still loud.
It is, I don't, my sound man left.
Can y'all still hear me? All right, there we go, get back further. For those of y'all make me nervous. All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike Waters. I am running for Pawnee County Sheriff. I'm 45 years old. I've got 4 kids, Liberty, Justice, Court, and Case. I was born and raised in Pawnee County. That's where I call home. I left in 89 and I come back in 93 to be an officer in Pawnee County. I graduated from Pawnee High School in 1989. I attended NEO, OSU, and TCC. I grew up on a ranch. My family's always had a big farming community ranch, and I wanted to lead that and follow my heart, my dreams. So about 20 years ago, I started law enforcement. I've been with Pawnee County Sheriff's Office now for 19 years. I became an officer in 1994 with Pawnee PD. I went to the county in 1995 till 97. 97 to 2000, I did take a break. I didn't know if, I needed to change up a little bit to see if that was my calling. And in 2000, I come back because it was. I really missed it when I was out. I come back in December of 2000 and moved up from a deputy up through the ranks of lieutenant, captain to undersheriff in 2009. December the 6th of 2010, I was appointed and sworn in as sheriff of Pawnee County. That's a dream come true right there. Pawnee County is very important to me. I know during election time, every 4 years, the negativity comes out, and I do apologize for that. I was brought up, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all, keep it to yourself. But the way the elections go, that never happens, and I understand that, that's a way of life. So I've got big shoulders and I can take it. I can take the negativity. I guarantee you, I'm not the sheriff of Pawnee County for the money. Pawnee County is a poor county, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have a lot of industry here. Our schools, they're barely getting by. I know Pawnee schools are getting cut continuously, and the county doesn't have a lot. I mean, I'll just tell you right now, and I'm not picking on the county commissioners, but the county commissioners, they give me $364,000 to run that sheriff's department on in a year. That's it. It costs $95,000 a month to run that. That's $1.3 million. I have to get out there and hustle and bustle, and that's why I'm not in the field as much as everybody would like me to be 7 days a week, because I'm trying to keep the doors open. I look for grants. I look for, our sales tax. That's a wonder. Our sales tax is going up and it's coming back down. We built a brand new jail. It's an $8 million jail. Right now, as of, we had a meeting yesterday, we got that jail on a 20-year note. In 2020, if the taxes keep going like they are, that will be paid off in full. So we can get 3/4 of that penny back to the citizens of Pawnee County. Now that's if the taxes keep going as they are. If they keep dropping, that may extend it. But right now, in 2020, we make the decision to pay it off in full. The money will be there. I put on my campaign signs dedicated to the citizens because my mom and dad always taught me, you mind your parents and you respect your elders. Well, everybody in the county, they're citizens. So that's where I come off with dedicated to the citizens of Pawnee County. I will tell you this, it takes a lot of time, People say, well, he's not out here in the field all the time. The Westport, the Peninsula area, I'm catching flack over that, and that's okay. But when I do get out there, people are in bed or they're going to work. I don't have time to sit out there 7 days or 5 days a week, 7 days a week. I'm sorry, the county seat is in Pawnee. That is where the courthouse is. That's where the commissioners, that's where the courtroom is, that's where the jail is. So that's why I'm supposed to delegate supervisors that go out and do their job for me. Everybody says, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I try to get out there, special functions and so forth. If there's major stuff, yes, I do get up and go. They call me. So, that there, the county seat is in Pawnee. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that. That's where it's at. For the last 3 years, I have sat on the Oklahoma Sheriff's Association board as a board member. This year, I was elected second vice president. I do spend about 4 to 5 days a month down at the Capitol in Oklahoma City fighting legislation for everybody here. DOC, they keep pulling money from us. They cost us about $175,000 last year when they pulled it. I know there's other entities out there that it's affecting. I do know that. But, the concealed carry laws, the schools, there's all kinds of stuff that, Pawnee County in a whole, it affects all the citizens right here. One thing I can say, I've been told I've cussed people, I've yelled, I may have said a bad word here or there. That's me. That's just how it is. I'm sorry, but that's me. I'm going to be me, no matter what. I can tell you this. People said I've promised this and I've promised that. Well, I've seen the promises made and I've seen promises broken. That's why I've told everybody, I guarantee I will try, I will try, I will try. I've really never made promises, but I try to do the best job that I can do for the citizens of Pawnee County. And that's what it's all about. I get 5,000 phone calls or 5,000 minutes on my cell phone, and I guarantee you 80% of it's work related. My kids, bless their heart, Dad, your phone's ringing again 3 o'clock in the morning. Dad, you gotta leave my graduation? Yes, I do. Got problems at the jail, deputy calls in sick. I may not be out patrolling the roads, but I guarantee you the phone's right here. I'm county business all the way. I've heard people, talking about, I'm never in office. I'm never in office. I'm in office more than you know, but when I'm not in office, I'm usually at the courthouse, meetings. I travel, with the OSA. So I'm gone continuously on that. But I still handle the business. And whenever you handle that business, you've got to delegate people that are there to do it. So, with that being said, I've kind of give y'all a little bit of history there. As far as our finances, Pawnee County's doing good. We're not doing great, but we're doing good. We're holding our own. I do have enough money saved up right now in an emergency contingency account that I can operate that sheriff's office for a full year. So there is enough saved there. We had one of the chewers in the sewer system go out, $8,000 for a box that I could hold in my hand. And that's a refurbished. That wasn't brand new. I didn't want to pay $16,000 for the brand new. So the finances, I mean, we're bringing in one of the accounts is about $20,000 to $30,000 a month. We're spending about 17 to 19 out of it. Another one we're bringing in about 25 to 35. It fluctuates just a little. We're spending 17 to 20 out of it. So it's not good business to spend 100% of your money coming in. It's just not. It's just not. You got to have a little bit of leeway. As far as equipment, I'm trying to keep newer cars out there on the road. I've got body cams. We've got brand new vests and uniforms. We've had those. Brand new sidearms, 6-hour sidearms. We already have our ARs. And this is something I'm very proud of, and I wanted to talk about it last, is I actually started a jail minstrel alliance for Pawnee County. And it's been going on now for about 6 weeks. We've had 7 decisions already made, and it's still booming. We had some people donate some Bibles to us. We've handed most of those out. We have preachers coming in 2 to 3 times a week. And I didn't realize this, but talking to the inmates, whenever the preachers can't be there, it's like you would take the TV away from them or something. I mean, their world's upside down. You know, they're not here at 10 o'clock. What's up? What's up? They're not here. It really makes a difference. I'm hoping we can keep going. The Ministerial Alliance, we're not just using Pawnee County ministries. It goes from Osage County, Creek County, Payne County. There's ministers from all over coming in, males and females. And I think it's a wonderful thing. It was a headache. I'm going to tell you right now, it was a headache. I've made some people mad over it, and some people smile and give me a hug over it. So, but I think that the inmates need to hear that inside there. I don't know how much more time I have, or if you want me to 5 minutes, before we go. I'll tell you about our sex offender list real quick. In 2015 and 16, we were to 67 sex offenders. For 2016 to present, we've got 46. We're getting rid of them slowly but surely, but we're getting there. To break them down a little bit, they're Cleveland is probably, they match, the city of Cleveland matches Pawnee with 14, and Carrollton's 12, and then they drop from there. Concealed carry permits, we've taken just from January to present, we've had 81 prints taken, 81 prints. So that's on top of what the secretaries do. One of the questions that was asked me, as far as the money goes, we get 30% of the money that comes into Pawnee County through that loan tax. Everybody's like, man, that's a lot of money. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 30% of 1 penny. That's what that is. So on 5 million, there's not much there, 300,000. That's all there is. So, I mean, that's kind of some figures there. As far as our jail goes, in 2015, we had a total of 1,142 people go through our facility. That's a lot of people in Podunk Town, Pawnee County. A lot of people. I know Pawnee County side of it, we had 632 of those. Now we also housed for 6 other entities in there. And Cleveland PD is one of them that we housed for. In 2016, Pawnee, we've had already this year, 424 is what we've had. And the PCSOs had 278 of them. So, you know, we're doing about half. Let's talk about deputies and their pay real quick. Deputies and their pay. There's not a lot of room there. Like like I said, the county pays for 11 employees. And out of those 11 employees, the county pays for all the benefits and so forth. The other 14 employees that are employed, the benefits and the other money has to come out of the sheriff's office. For example, I'll just tell you, a deputy makes $2,426.67. That's what they make now. It's coming up slowly but surely. When I started, it was $980 20 years ago. So, for them to get their benefits, it costs the county $3,439.80 to employ that person. That's $1,013 extra that people don't, they don't figure that in. They don't count that. My jailers, they make $22.94, almost $2,300, and it costs an extra $925 to employ them for their benefits. Now that's for 14 people. So, everybody kind of thinks, well, that's not a lot, and it's really not, but you talk to other small counties around, and we're not the bottom, and we're not the top, but we are sure above the 50%. So, we're doing better there. So, the benefits, does cost an extra, I just rounded $1,000. For every employee, that's $1,000. Every time that the county gives a pay raise, yes, I've been against them and told them, but it's not fair, because I'm not going to have the 11 people that's under the county money, and then the other 14 not get their money. That's not right, that's not equal, so it's either all or nothing. And every time that they do it, it costs us $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, because we have to pay for all those benefits. For 14 people, it's $14,000 times 12, y'all do the math. Do that. So, there's quite a bit of money involved there. I miss anything? One minute? Oh, man, 1 minute. No. But anyway, well, I've probably been up here long enough. But yes, I am running for sheriff again. I believe that it's what I was supposed to do. It's what I come back. And just like I said, my parents have always taught me to treat people as you want to be treated, completely. Respect, obey, be honest, integrity. 20 years experience. I never was a reserve officer. I was full-time. And I've had my bottom chewed, and I've been praised. A hero one day and something the next. So, but I want to thank y'all for your time. Thank y'all for being here. I figured we'd have a bigger crowd. I really did. But I want to thank each and every one of y'all.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. I do want to say that there was no preferential way of the order this was taken. It's just how they sat down, and I go from right to left every time. So.
That's up to right for us.
Well, I'm self-centered.
Good evening. I surely appreciate each of you being here tonight. This is indeed an important race. I appreciate all the work that Mike has put into this county, but I also recognize the need to go farther and to do more. And recognizing that need, I also have to step up and answer that call. Give you some background on me. I was born in Cushing, Oklahoma, and I grew up between Stillwater and Grumbright, not too far down the road from here. In that time, I didn't start out with a lifelong dream for law enforcement. I got into computers. I did really well with them. I could probably do about anything that wanted to be done with a computer, with a network, or with anything else that involves computers. But that alone was not enough, because that's not what God wanted me to do. I heard Sheriff Waters talk about answering the calling, and so I'll just go ahead and explain to you the calling that the Lord put on my life. I did start out as a reserve. I thought hard. I don't know if any of you have dealt with the calling of the Lord and thought hard with trying to argue your way out of it. But if you're like me, you didn't win. When you argued with the Lord, the more He turned up the fire to build that till you have to give in and do what you're supposed to do. I started out as a reserve. And I remember in my Reserve Academy, they asked me to set goals. Goals are very important. They determine just how hard you're going to be driven to do what you're going to do in life. But not knowing what goals to set, because I didn't want to be in law enforcement to begin with, the only other thing I could do was pray. And the Lord gave me some clear goals to set, and I set them. The first one was I wanted to become a full-time police officer because I recognized the importance of it. Your mid-range goal, I wanted to become a deputy sheriff because I recognized that you've got so much more ground to cover, so many more people to help, and really less resources. But it's very important. It's a needed thing to do. And then the long-range goal, I wanted to become a county sheriff so that I could better serve that community. As I'm sure Mike will tell you, there's a lot of things that you just can't do by yourself. You need to delegate. And from that position, I can accomplish more and do more. Well, immediately after graduating Reserve Academy, I turned around and had to go back through full-time academy because I became the chief of police in Jennings. I don't think that that was by accident, because some of the people applying for that job were very well qualified and already certified to be full-time. It was where I was supposed to be, and I went there and I took the task, and I carried it on, and I did well with it. I had to gain experience as I went, as everybody does. 11 months later, I was offered a position with the county as a deputy, working primarily in the jail and dispatch. But in a very, very short time, I was out in the field as a field deputy. And I served in that position with Pawnee County for 7 years, and I've done it proudly. There's a lot of good people that I have met working in Pawnee County. And just as Mike explained to you, the pay isn't the greatest. Nobody is going to do that for the pay. You need to have people that are dedicated, that are driven with a purpose, and have far more than just a paycheck or a job for the reason for doing it. In that time, I have served the people of Pawnee County very diligently. I've worked an entire shift only to go home and to be on call for another shift because the money's not there. Also at home, I've sat down and I've utilized computer skills to do research and search diligently to find property that had been stolen and taken, because the time to do it during the shift was just not there. There's not nearly enough deputies to cover the ground that we need to cover to reach the people we need to reach. We need people that are dedicated, that dedicated, to go out and do this. In the time that I've done this, I've looked up the stats on ODCR. Now these stats, they certainly aren't going to cover cases where people have been arrested, charged, got a deferred sentence, and ended up re-entered as not guilty and expunged, because once it's expunged, guess what? It does not show up. It's not there anymore. But out of the cases that do show up in that 7 years' time, about 608 that have me listed as the officer involved. May not seem like a lot, but that breaks down to about 80-something cases a year. On top of all the other trivial things that you have to do as a deputy that don't result in a case. But you still have to be there, and they're still very important. They're just much smaller, and they don't result in something you're going to see those numbers on. I've done these diligently, and I've done it proudly to serve the community that I serve, because it's needed. We have a bad problem with crime that goes up and down like a roller coaster, just like every other county does. A lot of it's driven by drugs. There are people that are hooked on and addicted to drugs, and they'll do things that they never would have done before. Because their body craves it, they're addicted, they can't help it, they're going to do this. And the end result is the good people out here in the county that have property, their property is fair game. They're going to break into this property, they're going to steal this property, and they're going to sell it for pennies on the dollar. Goes back to the time that I spent after work, diligently on the computer trying to find some of that stolen property and get it recovered. Try to put cases together and not just write reports that are forgotten about, but continue to bring those out and research and find the people that did the crime. Put the case together and get it submitted, and get cases that are filed. This is just one person, though. I can't do this for everybody. But as a sheriff, I can get out there and I can be a leading example. I can not only tell my deputies what needs to be done, but I can go out there and I can show them diligently this is how we're going to do it and show them a want to do it. I can work to attract the very best of the best. And I've seen some of the very best deputies come and go in Pawnee County. Unfortunately, the go is not nearly as good as the come. I want to attract the best of the best, and I want to keep them. Because that's how I'm going to be able to reach that mark and take what I've done and multiply that many times over. If I can take everything that I've done and I can bring this to the other deputies, attract good deputies, keep good deputies, keep good jailers, keep good dispatchers, we're going to have a whole lot more accomplished for the people in this county, and it needs to be accomplished. We didn't win the war on drugs. It's not over with. But we don't have a drug task force anywhere like we've had before. We need a drug task force again. We need to address the issues that come out of that, which includes property crime. We need to diligently address the issues of domestic violence. Because whether you choose to look at it or look the other way, I'm going to promise you, Pawnee County is not immune. Domestic violence is and has been a problem, and we need someone as a sheriff who's going to be very tough on domestic violence. While I'm talking about being tough, let me remind you, I'm not only going to be tough on it, but the job isn't over with once the case is worked and it's filed. Once somebody goes into jail, I'm glad Mike brought up the Ministerial Alliance, because it's something I've been campaigning since I filed for sheriff, that I absolutely am going to see to it gets done. Because once I get people in that jail, and they needed to be there, the larger majority of them, I promise that they've done what they've been charged with. They're going to go through their due process, and they're entitled to that. But there's no reason for them to be shut up in a jail completely dark and void in the presence of God. You can't make them. You can't tell them they have to listen to your words about God, but at the same time, you need to have the door open so that if they want to, it's available. And that's very high on my list of things I've been campaigning about since I started this campaign. If I'm going to do the things that I'm going to do for the people of Pawnee County, I need to take the ones that come into that jail and do the very best that I can to turn them around. And I don't care how good I get, I can't turn them around on my own. It's going to take someone greater than me to do that. It's going to take someone greater than Mike Waters to do that. And if you will, I'll even be so bold to say it's going to take God to turn them around. I can't go up and compel them to listen to God, but I can open the doors just like you did, and I commend you for doing that. I can open the doors and I can make sure that the people that want to come in and minister to them are there to do that. But I want to go further than that. I know countless individuals that have come through that jail that have turned their life around. They have become productive people in society, not doing the things that they used to do. I want, as sheriff, to set up programs where these people can come in and mentor on a regular basis. Because there's nothing worse than being in jail and thinking your whole world has come to an end, and you're feeling like you're in the darkness. It's good to see someone that's been there before that can say, listen, I know you messed up, but I also know you can turn around and do right. They're going to do one of two things. They're going to be in that jail. They're going to learn how to do the same things they did that got them there and learn how to do it better. Or we can apply the kind of principles that I'm talking about here and teach them how to turn around and be productive in society, to walk away from the things that got them into that jail. And if I do so, that's going to be the biggest impact we're going to have to reduce crime in Pawnee County. As your sheriff, I can't do just one thing alone. I've got to do all of these things combined. I can't stop the property crime if we're not out there looking for the property crime. And it's not good enough for me to tell the deputies to come on duty and go sit at the sheriff's office or the sub office and wait for a call. Because if they're sitting there waiting for a call, That means they're waiting and giving someone else an opportunity to go violate you, the people of this county, and make you a victim. Sure, it is my job to make sure that it's documented if you become a victim. But how much more important is it for me to make sure that we do everything we can to stop you from becoming a victim? To be there before someone breaks into your house. Do you realize the average person who's actually had their home broken into, long after the person has been found and put in jail, they still feel very terrified in their own home? Do you realize how terrified people remain years afterwards? I would far rather do everything that I can to stop you from being a victim. And that means, yes, I've got to put deputies out there patrolling. And yes, I understand the finances. I get that. It costs gasoline to do that. But it doesn't cost so much gasoline to pick an area, a different area randomly, every day when you come on duty. The gas money that I'm going to spend to run to the sub-office, I could just as easily spend that gas money to drive through an area that doesn't have normal police protection. Drive slowly, be seen. Get out and talk to people that live in that community. The idea is the more that they see a patrol car, the more that people that are going to commit the crime sit back and say, you know, is it safe or is it not? I don't know. And this is what I want. I want to make it difficult for them to do the crime for fear that they're going to get caught. We've got places over here in Cleveland. I thank God for this Cleveland Police Department. They've got officers and manpower to patrol. And unless they call for backup, I don't think they need the sheriff's office over here patrolling for them. I think we need to get out and let them do what they're doing. We need to get the sheriff's office into the rural areas where we don't have police officers readily available. And as your sheriff, this is going to be one of the highest priorities that I'm campaigning on. Because I don't want you to be a victim. It's hard to take that back once you become a victim. In fact, apart from God, you'll never get over that either. If you've ever actually experienced a break-in, you just don't feel safe in your home anymore. As your sheriff, I've got to do all of these things. We need to attract people who have done the same things that I've done. We need to attract them and keep them. And then we need to let them know that if you get out there and you do these things, if you do what's right, I'm going to stand behind you. You won't have to worry about or fear losing your job because you're out there enforcing the law. If you see someone that's breaking the law, it's breaching the peace, and it's making someone somewhere feel unsafe or unserved. Or at the very least, it's putting in questionable doubt whether you can trust your sheriff's department. And without your trust, ladies and gentlemen, none of the candidates up here can do their job or do it effectively. We must have your trust. And the only way that I can see to earn that is to do the same things I've done and get other deputies to get out there and do the same thing. How many of you would like to see a sheriff's deputy car stop in your neighborhood when you're outside and talk to you? Is there anyone here that's afraid to talk to a sheriff's deputy? I don't think so. We need to spend that time out talking to the people we work for. And what better way to find out what's going on in your part of the county than to get out and talk to you? These are all things that are important. These are all things that as your sheriff I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in better training. We're going to train in-house. Before I'm done, I promise, yes, I promise, we will have some of the best trained officers in the state, bar none. We will restore a reserve program. We will restore a drug task force, and we will better serve you. Thank you.
Good morning, and now we'll have Ed Farnell. I know most of you know him, a lot of you do, because you told me who he was when he came in. So, 15 minutes.
As you said, most of you in here know me. I'm Darren Cornell, 39 years old, married, 3 kids, Colt, Corbin, and Lauren. Grew up just south of the county line, right outside of Manford. Graduated from the big town of Olive. Whopping 34 students in my graduating class. Graduated May of 1995. From there, I went straight to work for Tulsa County Sheriff's Office in June of 95, working in the county jail. Worked there for right about 2 years, realized that working in the jail wasn't really, working at Tulsa County Jail wasn't where I wanted to be. Eventually wound up, guy called me and said, hey, why don't you come up to Osage County and apply? It's a lot different, it's a lot smaller department. I prefer the smaller department, where you're a person and not a number. Tulsa County, most of the supervisors didn't have a clue who you were. They just knew you were wearing one of their uniforms. So obviously you weren't there, there had to be a reason you were there. Went to Osage County in 97. Within about 3 months, I was promoted to corporal, moved into dispatch, and knew I'd found where I'd like to be. I stayed there, I was there probably about a year before common sense finally hit me and realized I wasn't surviving driving from Manfred to Pulaski 5 days a week for $1,175 before taxes. At that point, I decided it was time to get out, give it a break, go do something, kind of take a break from all the politics. As anybody will tell you, I've never been into politics. I'm not a politician. I don't like politics. I've said since 20 years ago when I started this, politics should not play a part in this. However, some things can't be changed. At about, I want to say it's 2001, something like that, I started with Sand Springs Police Department as a 911 operator. Was there about 4 years, 4.5 years. Manfred PD calls, says, hey, we're looking for someone to come out and cover part-time dispatch just to fill in while our guys are off. So, hey, I'm all over that. Went out there, I was there a couple months. Chief said, hey, would you be interested in the reserve? Sure, why not? I'd always, since I was a little kid, wanted to be a cop. I thought, you know, this gets my foot in the door, tells me if it's really and truly what I want to do. Graduated the Reserve Academy in 2007. Shortly thereafter, I was hired as a full-time officer, left Sand Springs to go work for Manfred PD. Graduated the full-time academy in May of 2009. However, I only stayed there for probably about a year after I graduated the academy because they kept trying to convince me that I needed to move to Manfred. I grew up there, I had no reason why I wanted to move back. And plus had a house in Skytech that I had to do something with. Eventually decided to get out, tired of driving back and forth, tired of complaints of, well, you've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move. You know, I'm not going to move, so I'll just leave. Went back to being a 911 operator for the city of Tulsa. While I was there, I saw the posting pop up for a deputy here. So I had to shoot in my resume to see what happened. I started here June 27th, 2011. January 4th of 2013, I was promoted to major and stayed there until March 5th of this year. One of the big things I see that, as Tom said, definitely needs to change is the training. Right now, as I understand it, there are 12 certified instructors in this county. There is no reason why our guys should ever leave the county to go do training. I can and will bring the training for dispatch, bring in the training for jail as well as patrol. I've got lots of experience in all three fields and strongly believe that dispatch is your lifeline as well as our lifeline. Because when you call, if that guy doesn't know what he's doing, he can't get us out there to help you with what you need. Likewise, if we don't know what we're doing or where we're going and don't know the area, it delays your response time. Another big issue I want to work on is response times. Yeah, I've still got people calling me complaining, you know, I took a deputy this long, it took a deputy this long to get here, or they were coming from here. You know, I understand they can't just drop what they're doing and go. It's time to get those guys out, get them proactive, get them spread out across the county, and focus on the community-oriented policing. Anybody that knows me will tell you, I'm not afraid to pull up your driveway if I see you standing outside and bail out and start talking to you. See if you've got complaints, concerns, issues. Leave me a card with my cell number on it. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. If you've got a problem, you call me, I will take care of it. My wife screams at me because my phone rings 24/7. Still does. I still have people calling me. And, you know, I refer them to whoever they need to go to and explain to them, I'm not there right now. you're gonna have to get someone else to deal with it. Community policing is a big issue for me. Get to know your citizens, get to know where they live at. Guys tell me it's weird because they'll call me and they're like, it's a little creepy. But they'll call me and ask me, hey, do you know where this address is? Yeah, what, do you have a name on it? Give me a name, I can generally describe the house, the vehicle, and the driveway. They're like, that's a little bit weird that you know that much. But I get out and I talk to those people. I remember who I deal with. It may take me a minute to remember. I may see you out in public and know you and not be able to remember your name. Another thing that I really want to see us start focusing on is the kids. Tomorrow's criminals are today's kids. If we can focus on them now, we may be able to prevent them from becoming a criminal tomorrow. Another huge issue that needs to be worked on is drugs. I would like to see us start doing some drug interdiction. I've been to classes where guys have joked that they will arrest people and they laugh about how easy it is to run dope through this county because they know nobody does drug interdiction. As long as they stay on the main highways, they know nobody's going to mess with them. Drugs are basically the root problem to most of the problems in this county. Between drugs and alcohol, that's going to be your two biggest problems because that's where everything else is going to stem from. Your burglaries, domestics, all that will stem generally from alcohol or drugs. As Tom said, the reserve program needs to be reworked. Get those guys out, get them active. I understand we can't force them to come out because they are volunteers. There are a lot of people who want to be reservists, but for whatever reason have been told that they can't, you don't live in the county, whatever. And I understand that. I understand that you need to have local guys in here that know the area, but there's guys that are certified that have told me they've called to ask about being a reserve and nobody would talk to them. The reserve program is a huge issue. It saves a lot of taxpayer money. As Mike said, money is a huge issue for the sheriff's office. Not just here, for every sheriff's office throughout the U.S., every police department. They are basically the redheaded stepchildren of government. You've got to have them, but nobody really wants to have them, and nobody wants to pay for them, but yet we really need them to be here. Focusing on the drugs has the potential to start generating money. Another thing that will help generate money is finding more grants, getting everybody NIMS compliant where we can start getting FEMA grants. There are a ton of grants out there. If everything falls into place, you've got the right training. Right now I'm a cleat certified instructor. By the middle of June, I will have gone through the NRA class to also become a firearms instructor. One thing I want to see happen for our training in-house is to at minimum double what the state mandate is. State mandate right now is 25 hours of continuing education, 2 of which must be mental health. There's too much mental health problem in this county to get by with just 2 hours. As Tom and Mike both tell you, we have got an ungodly amount of mental health problems in this county. I would like to see that go up to 8 hours of mandatory in-house training. See the total mandatory amount go up to 50. I would like to get our firearms training where it eventually will become quarterly. Obviously, it's going to take some work to get to that point because number one, finance will be an issue to pay for the ammunition. But there's not a cop I know that wouldn't. I would love to be at the range every week. I can't afford to spend that much on 45 ammo. But there's not a cop in this world that would not go to the range at least every 3 months given the opportunity. And that is a big issue for guys that's, driving and firearms. Those are 2 things that may eventually save your life. Firearms are muscle memory. You use it or you lose it. And, the other thing is, when those guys qualify, I want to be right there with them so that I know if something ever happens. I've seen them. I know how they shot when they were at the range. I think that's really about it. I don't bore you guys with a whole bunch of stuff.
You've got 5 more minutes.
I'm good. I like to keep it short and sweet.
Open it up for
got, we will go further as long as this gentleman wants to answer, but all three candidates will have the opportunity to answer these good questions. Someone needs to start. Okay, I appreciate it.
I have one that you probably already answered about the drug task force. Do we have a drug task force for this?
Is this towards me?
Well, all three of you are gonna answer this. You're the only one that knows about that.
Right at the current moment, no, we do not. We are using OBNBD. I cannot find a agent to come in for the money that we can pay. So we've been working with Osage County. We've been working with the city of Cleveland. They've been coming out and assisting us, and OBNBD. So yes, there are agents out there. I will tell you that. I can't say their names, but yes, there is.
Also, Mike might have said right there. What is your stance on the drug task force? Do you think we need it here in Pawnee County?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
We had one before. It was a good task force stuff, and they've done a lot because I work with them. So yes, I believe they do. That's what I want to hear. How effective are they when they are here?
When they're here,
Yeah.
they worked good, but also they also work with Osage County, Creek County, Tulsa County. Yes, and they are effective. Like I said, we rely on the city of Cleveland right now. I do not have a dog handler at this point in time because the dog that the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office owns is mean, very, very picky. I cannot find a good fit for him right now. So yes, we do still do the drugs. It's just not solely out of the sheriff's office.
Yeah, let the others say what they need to about the drug task force.
The first question you asked, I already knew because I did enough inquiring to find out. No, we don't have a drug task force. Yes, we absolutely need a drug task force. And I understand right now the money is not there for it. And I have a plan that I'm going to use that will get that going. We have numerous people who have worked in that capacity before, who at the moment that I know are not in law enforcement, or certainly not working full time, who would love to come on as a reserve capacity and focus primarily in that area. And I will bring those people back, and we will be active in it because it absolutely has to happen. It did make a wonderful difference, the one you were talking about when you knew about it. It wasn't just something that went idly by. We focused very much on it, and we need to do it again. And I don't see any reason not to approach the other police departments that we do have in our county. I realize they've got their own budget they have to work with, but I think that I could approach them and open up a door of opportunity to give them some expanded jurisdiction when enforcing drug traffic, because it affects their town. If they have to stop right at the edge of Cleveland city limits, Clint, I'm sure will tell you there's drugs that he knows is going on that he might have his hands tied. If I expanded some jurisdiction for them, that would help a lot. And the same thing in Pawnee. So yes, we will address those, but at first we'll have to do it with some reserve certification.
As they both said, currently right now there is no drug task force. Not since one of them left to go to another agency. Drug task force is definitely a big issue that needs to be addressed in this county. However, we have had good quality deputies here that have offered to come back pending the proper changes made that are dope hunting tools. I mean, that is their goal, is to get out there and find as much dope as possible. And a lot of it has to do with getting the right personnel in there that's willing to do it. Granted, right now, we may not be able to do a full-blown drug task force. But getting those right deputies in there that can focus on that, when you've got 2 or 3 out, where that they can be focused primarily on doing interdiction just to start making a huge dent in it to alleviate that caseload later on.
I'll allow one question. That was
Our question was.
That was 3 of them. I can ask you.
Question 1, A, B, C.
Is there anybody else who has a question? Would you like to come to the microphone?
Do you remember the big snowstorm Christmas Eve 2009?
Oh, yes.
I worked at the Tulsa airport. I get called in on snow crew. About 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife calls and said there's a flashlight outside our fence in the back and we live out in the sticks. Well, we know who it was now. That's the first time we've noticed it. But since 2009 to now, this guy cuts a lock on the land next to ours, goes in, drug a motorhome in belonging to a missing person. A month ago or so, he shoots 3 or 4 shots through a trailer out west of town. And I don't want to go to Tulsa and leave my wife there alone. What's it take to keep people like that in jail? And after the last time, 2 of the deputies come out, which I really appreciate. They said, when he shows up, call dispatch, I don't care what time it is, they'll call me, we'll come out. My wife called me at work and said he's here. I called dispatch and told him. He stayed out there 3 hours. Deputy showed out 8 days later. We've been dealing with him since 2009.
Okay, as far as keeping them in jail, whenever they're arrested, that's up to the district attorney.
Yeah,
That is not up to
yeah.
us. Now, as far as the deputies not going out there, if they did go out there, if they didn't make contact or did make contact, I don't know, I can't answer that.
When they came back 8 days later, they said, we dropped the ball.
Okay, well, and I'll have to check into that. I mean, not every single call goes through me. Everybody says, well, I got cows out, or I got a dog out, or this happened, or this happened. They expect me to know every single call. I can't do every single call. I mean, if it's the major calls, the rapes, molestations, the murders, yes, I'm aware of those. But the rest of them, that's where I have to delegate to my supervisors and so forth. And, there for a period of time, I wasn't being notified. Me and my undersheriff were not being notified of anything.
Is it
And so
the DA that would give you for failure to pay? I see a lot of people arrested for failure to pay. He's got like 4 charges on him now from 2012 and 13 that he had to pay.
Okay, the failure to pay or failure to appear, once a warrant is issued, then yes, we will definitely take care of that. But we don't issue that. That is from the DA's office and the court clerk's office.
I'm sick of that.
And I know who you're talking about now, once we got the,
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
oh, yes, sir.
I'll answer your question too, I guess.
Yeah, you've been out there.
I have. I've not failed to go, and unfortunately, this happens. But your question of what can you do to keep them in jail? Well, 1 or 2 things can happen. We could make him stop doing what he's doing, or at least pay enough attention to him that every time he gets out there and does that, there's somebody that doesn't have to come 8 days later. There's somebody out there watching. I promise I'll do the same thing that I've always done, and I know Darren has done the same thing. I've given my phone number out to more people in this county that I can begin to remember. And as your sheriff, if you've got a problem like this, I want to know about it. I don't want to take a chance that it didn't filter across my desk. Call me. I will probably be the one out there in the boondocks sitting and watching and waiting for this guy to come back, because I know the one you're talking about, and it happens way too often.
Yeah.
And you can't feel safe.
No.
And you need to feel
Yeah,
safe.
I don't want my wife there by herself and me 35 miles away.
Well, as sheriff,
I know you
I
can't stop him without probable cause, but the crappy vehicles.
as sheriff, I may be sitting out in the bushes watching and waiting for him to do the next thing that he does, so you don't have to call.
Yeah.
That had on your property?
No, next one. No, if it's on my property, it'll be over.
I was gonna say, yeah, I can solve that problem real quick.
Number 1, regarding the motorhome, as I told you before, I think he brought that to you, so you have a summer vacation.
Right.
One of the things that, Gerald has called me repeatedly all hours of day and night concerning issues at his house, and I've always been prompt to go by there and take care of them. One thing that will help with part of that, not necessarily keeping them in jail, but the response time and stuff, is I would like to try to change the guys, instead of working 8 and being on call for us, have them on 10 or 12-hour shifts, so that there's not that 8 hours from midnight to 8 a.m. where there's no deputy out. Most bad things don't happen in the daytime generally. It's usually after dark. As far as, like Mike said, keeping him in jail, a lot of that falls to the DA and the judges. However, part of that falls back to the information that's presented to the DA to determine whether or not there's enough to keep him in jail. If you send him a 3-line report that says, guy showed up, I arrested him, took him to jail, there's not gonna be enough there to warrant keeping him in jail. If you list all the specifics, the elements of the crime, the DA pretty much doesn't have a whole lot of choice at that point except to pursue. And I'm very familiar with the individual. I've taken him to jail before. I arrested him on felony charges, thought I had him, and the victim backed out, so now never mind, I'm not gonna do anything.
Just keep going.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions? This is a quiet group. I'll let you go ahead. Quiet.
I don't know what to say. As a military veteran, I came from Virginia. I've been here 6 years, and I chose Pawnee County as my home. Got property, out south of town, lovely. I just want to know where each and every one of y'all stand on our United States Constitution, and with this agenda that they're trying to do away with our Constitution in Washington by taking firearms, and now it's time to go after your First Amendment rights of free speech. How do y'all stand as sheriffs? Do you know, or as candidates, do you know your Constitution, and will you stand for it as their forefathers gave us by God?
Yes, pertaining to the firearm, that is what we jumped about down at the Capitol, because I told them to get me a cell ready, because I will not go out and take guns from people whenever, they try to pass that. And the senators, legislators down there, that's the big joke, get water to sell, here he comes, whenever I go in there and give my speeches. And as far as the rest of the Constitution, I got a coffee mug sitting on my desk that I look at, and I'm a firm believer in it, 100%.
First of all, thank you for your question, but more importantly, thank you for your service to our country. That Constitution was very important to you to go out and do what you did, and that Constitution is very important to me. I don't think that any of the candidates up here are going to hold much of a different answer to that question. I took an oath to uphold that Constitution against all threats, foreign and domestic. And that absolutely means that if it's in that Constitution, it was important enough for our founding fathers for it to be there. There's no way I'm going to come take your guns.
They fought and died for it.
They fought and died for it. And that right to own and bear arms, that was not just your right to go hunting. I promise you it was not ever intended for going hunting, although hunting is a very important thing even back then. That was your first line of defense against a government becoming tyrannical to the point where you were oppressed by your government instead of the people governing themselves, being governed by a tyrannical government. That Second Amendment, absolutely important. I will never, under any circumstances, try to come take your guns away. Your First Amendment right, you heard me boasting about my belief in God. And not everybody in this county is going to share that opinion. I've even got some people that have voiced that they're atheists, but they still want to know how I'm going to do. Well, I want to protect them, but I still have that First Amendment right, and I don't want them to try to take that away from me. And I'm also smart enough to know what the difference between a men's sign and a ladies' sign on the bathroom is. You got a right to privacy. I'll uphold that.
We've already discussed this. I'm very, very, very pro Second Amendment. One of the reasons I'm going through all the stuff I'm going through right now at the NRA to become a certified instructor, I've pushed since day one, since they first came out with concealed carry, told everybody I know, if you can, you should carry. I don't leave home without at least one, sometimes two. I'm a firm believer in carry a large gun. So I carry a .45 auto everywhere I go. Will I stand up to them? Absolutely. Because it's not just your guns that are going to be coming to take. It was a huge fight when my kids were born. My oldest one's middle name was Ruger. My youngest one's middle name is Colt. And it was done for a reason. I mean, you won't find a more pro-gun guy than me, I can assure you that. I've actually talked to another guy about the potential of getting my FFL after all this is over with and opening up a gun store in this county.
Good.
I mean, make it a lot more convenient for you to come back to me than have to drive all the way to Tulsa to go to Don's.
Thank you.
Are we ready for round 2 more questions? Are you gentlemen have a little bit more time, or are you willing to have more questions?
If there's more questions, I'm happy to answer.
There's one, I have more from a friend, and they were for Mr. Waters, but I won't answer that. You said they all three had to answer.
That's right.
Okay, are you like
My
one?
party.
That's the one.
Presidential debates this year, and we're not going anywhere. All three.
This is for the answer viably. Do we have a viable reserve? Do we have viable reserves, or are they not functioning right now?
No, we do have reserves.
Who is over them?
Major Chapman, Jerry Shaw, they're kind of revamping it basically. And on the reserve program, the reason why some people have been told no, the sheriff's department paid for all their stuff. They bought their gun, they bought their duty rig, they bought their vest, they tried to give them a car. Ladies and gentlemen, with the finances, I had to pull it from somewhere, there for a while. And that's why people were told, we did have to go in and revamp some. It did fall to the lower side. There was more important about me keeping that jail open and deputies in the field. But Major Chapman, he is doing a good job, and he is bringing it back, and we do have a list now that they are.
Who trains?
Who trains?
Who trains your officers, your reserve officers?
Well, they go to reserve school. We have in-house training. People come in. We have in-house training also. Cleveland Police Department, they provide training for us. Pawnee PD, they provide training for us. Payne County also does it.
Okay, where do they go for their recertification on their service weapon?
On the service weapon, we still use Roger Price. He is still a state instructor for the state of Oklahoma through CLEAT. And like I said many years ago, and I've talked to them over and over, they said, why would you travel and go somewhere else for firearms when it's right here in your county? And they're the ones that told me 4 years ago, you've got the best instructor in the state right there in your backyard. So I went to him and asked him if he would. So yes, he is our training officer on firearms.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. That was one side.
Do you have anything else? I tried to make it
I think that's pretty much got the answer you were looking for. And yes, I believe certainly Roger Price is involved with the reserve program, which is what I think you were fishing for.
Yes, sir.
I don't think that the reserve program is nearly as active as it needs to be. And we need to revamp that. And we need to bring that right here in-house to be in control of it. I've got people in mind that I know are very good with firearms. I'd like to bring them in to take care of that. No, I agree, we don't need to go across the state, but I'd like to bring that in-house to people that work for the sheriff's office.
As they both said, Roger is involved in it. Roger is an excellent instructor. I won't deny that one bit. Roger has taught me a lot over the last 4.5 years. However, right now there are currently 3 firearms instructors in this county. After the end of June, there will be 4. As I said, I would like to go to doing it quarterly, having each one of those people do a qualifying round. That way you're getting a little of this guy's knowledge, a little of this guy's knowledge, and a little of this one's knowledge, where you can all kind of blend it together. One guy may learn great from this instructor and may clam up with this instructor. I've talked to guys that were sitting there with me at the range at Rogers that just furious when they got done. They're like, he yelled at me, he screamed at us. I've got a lot of respect for Roger. That's the way Roger is. Roger has a no-nonsense approach to, and especially, you're dealing with live loaded firearms. You can't go out there and horseplay around, and Roger will not tolerate it. But that's my goal is at some point, not necessarily to make it mandatory, but to make it optional, where that they can start doing the firearms qualification quarterly and get each one of the firearms instructor in this county involved.
Well, I have a question. I'm not going to get up to the microphone, but I think everyone can hear me. But I would like to know your position on, I realize this has taken a back seat now at our state legislature on Tulsa County to Osage County, at the DA's request, wanting it more in line with his area. And I would like to know your feelings on that, your opinions on that, whether it's beneficial or not. Here I'm asking one of those multifaceted questions, right?
For example.
For example, but I would like to know that.
You're talking about House Bill 2416, I believe, and that is one of the bills that I was arguing against down at the Capitol. Spent many of hours with senators, representatives, and it has nothing to do with our district attorney's office. I just know every time that we've needed a judge in the past and none was available in our county, Tulsa County was there. They would meet us halfway, 3/4 of the way, and they have a bigger pool to pull from to where Osage County doesn't. So my personal opinion, I am against it, and like I said, I know Mr. Duncan's upset because I am against it, but that's how I feel, and that's the reason why.
Like Mike Waters, I have to agree for the same reason. The larger pool is very important. If they redistrict it like that, the number of judges available would go way down, and that would not serve the people of Pawnee County. There are times where we may need a judge on a lot shorter notice, and that larger pool will make all the difference in the world.
I gotta admit, till a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I had no clue what the redistricting, the whole deal behind it was. I started having people here in town going, hey, I heard you're backing Rex 100% on this. I heard Rex got you in his back pocket. I had not spoke to Rex Duncan until since June of last year when I started getting told this. And it always started with, this person said, this person, and it was always the same name every time. Which, first of all, my initial thought was Rex must have some big pockets if he can fit me in there. I finally started getting the gist of it, and like these two, I'm completely against it. I don't see the purpose to do it. I personally have never had a problem getting a hold of a judge, although I understand they're not sitting there 24/7 waiting on us to call them. Luck of the draw, if you will, that I've always been able to call one and say, hey, I need this, I need that, I need to get a search warrant signed. But I said until about 2 weeks, well, I ran into Rex Duncan here on cue. And that was the first time I'd seen him and talked to him since May or June of last year. Never once asked him about it, didn't want to know about it. I'd heard enough of it by then to know that it was not something that I support and even want to see happen.
I apologize for that. I honestly had no idea that any of that had been said. Like I said, I can tell you, I knew nothing about these gentlemen really either. So that was not a loaded question. I apologize for that.
Within a week's time, I had about 10 people tell me, this person said. And I'm like, first of all, I've never met that person. And that's the last time I talked to Rex was like May of last year whenever I went to court in Osage County on another case up there.
Who's pushing this redistricting thing?
Some politician somewhere.
Well, thank you for answering that, and for agreeing with my position on that too. I got concerned when I thought we would lose one judge for sure. I know it will, and I wanted to find out more about it. Thank you.
I have a question. I hear a lot of people talk about the reserve program. And I've never been a reserve, nor have I ever had anything to do with any reserve program. But I do know that in the past, there were, not recent past, way back, they had a problem with the reserve program. They get a lot of people to sign up. And they'd say, I want to be a reserve. They go through, they do all the training, then you never hear from them again. They would walk off. So I would like to hear from each one of you. How would you weed them out?
That is actually already in play. What I have discovered, I did research myself, and now I am doing a 1-year certification. Every year they have to come in, and I have to sign their commission card yearly. That way, once they complete the academy, or once they, they want to walk around and carry together a badge, but yet don't want to participate or help, at least I can be face to face with them once a year. And that is my opportunity to either re-enlist or not.
I don't see a reason to do a one-year certification. Bottom line is, you got to start by interviewing the candidates that want to be your reserve. You need to find out, why do you want to be a reserve? It may be that they just want to have that badge and look important. There's a whole lot more that goes to it than just having a badge and looking important. You've got to be out there and have the heart and be willing to be someone who will put your life on the line, put your personal feelings aside, and do what's right no matter what. You're only going to find that out if you sit down and interview them. Bottom line is, if we'll get past that interview process and I get somebody who's not showing up, I'm not going to need a year to figure that out. And I'm going to call them and I'm going to uphold their commission. They're only going to have that commission if they're willing to get out here and make a difference for what we need. Some of the things that I've got to do to increase programs to be able to be there and cut down response time is absolutely going to have to depend on reserves. That will work. I've got a number of people that live out in the basin who are retired police officers, and they would love to help out. And I know that they're willing to do it because they've got an entire career behind them where they did. But now they're retired and they'd like to help out as reserve. These are the ones that I'm going to focus on looking for. And then if they don't work, I'm going to do just what I said, hold the commission.
One thing like Tom said is, sitting and talking to these guys, interviewing them, I'm a big fan of the ride-along program. If you come to me and say, hey Darren, you know what, I'm thinking I might want to be a reserve, so you know what, why don't you come out a couple of weekends with me and just ride around and see what we really do. Kind of give you a push one way or the other to say, you know what, this isn't near as exciting as it is on NCIS or CSI, I'm out. The other thing is to make a mandatory requirement. When I started reserve, I was required 16 hours a month of service. If I did not provide that 16 hours, you're gone. No questions asked. While I understand we've got a couple of reserves currently on the list that is an issue because they're out of town a lot or they're on call, I understand. I can deal with that. But those guys have always been, you call them, if they're available, they're out there. But the mandatory, 16 to 24 hours a month, if you can't provide that in exchange for what I'm providing for you, then obviously we're not meant to be together. You need to go to a different department.
I mean, this is the first time I've ever really been involved in this, so kind of weird asking questions. What is your stance on, I don't really know how to word this, so if it sounds stupid, I'm sorry. I believe that my first line of defense in my household is me.
Amen.
I learned the term in the Marine Corps, I police my own. Anything's happening, I write it down, I let people know. A lot of people don't do that, you get scared to pick up the telephone, whatever, that's their deal. But, I think our county needs to go back to policing your own. I think a lot of people are less confident in doing that than others. But how would you encourage that?
How would I encourage that? Well, the sheriff's office is to serve and protect. I know we get a lot of calls for, and all calls are important, don't take me wrong here, but a dog walking across my yard and looked at my cattle, they call me and they report that. Stuff that the call logs now is a lot higher than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago we got a call, they were more serious. Nowadays, we have to call them. I'm sorry, if there's 2 deputies on and 4 calls come in, we have to prioritize. We have to. All the way from, suspicious vehicle to somebody kicking in the door or which is, maybe the husband coming in late and the wife don't know it, that kind of stuff. We have to prioritize. Everybody is Jewish. There is a lot more people getting hurt these days, a lot more officers are getting killed. You know, the thin blue line, everybody, you know, uses that out there. That is a great thing. That is for our fallen officers. I don't think it's a campaign slogan, but I think it is out there for that purpose. We have a flag that we fly. You know, Dwight Woodrow, he was my sergeant whenever I started back in 1995. So, you know, the thin blue line, that's a deal. But everybody, I mean, we're there for everybody. But how would I enforce that? Kind of getting off kilter here. Basically say, call the sheriff's office. And, you know, if we tell them it's a civil issue or we've got 2 other calls in front, you know, that's just how it is. That's the way of life.
Sir, don't feel bashful about asking your questions. There are 3 of us here that are applying for a job, and we're asking to work with the people of Pawnee County. So you're conducting an interview, and I appreciate your interview. Now, as I understand your question, I would not encourage it, you being out there and policing your own, but I'm not going to ever discourage you from having the right to do that. There are a number of reasons that I wouldn't encourage it, and they start right there with civil liability. As a police officer, we all have what's called qualified immunity, which gives us protection from civil lawsuits if we acted in a good, reasonable officer standard. That same qualification, that qualified immunity, you as a citizen do not have. So we owe you that to be there so that you don't have to do that. But I'm certainly not willing to discourage you from policing your own. You have that right, and I would never do anything to hinder that right. And I appreciate the fact that you're willing to, because trust me, I realize when seconds count, the police, no matter how dedicated they are just minutes away. It may come down to you need to protect yourself, and you may need to do that before we can get there. I promise we're going to do everything in our power if that happens to make sure that you acted judiciously in the way that you had to act, and not immediately try to launch a prosecution against you because you haven't spent your property. But as far as encouraging it, no, I'm not going to encourage that, and I think that that would be for your safety and for your protection civilly that I don't encourage it. I just certainly won't discourage it.
First of all, to clarify, when you say policing your own, you're referring to you policing your own or us policing our own?
I'm referring to me protecting my property.
Right. Okay.
I'm not talking about going driving up down the county roads looking for stuff that's happening.
Right. Well, when I say that, it's, you know, we as an industry have to police our own. You know, someone's got to be looking at those checks and balances, making sure, hey, if this guy's doing something stupid, we got to get him stopped. Like Tom said, I don't encourage it as far as, you know, taking things in your own hands. Sometimes you may not have a choice. I'm not going to fault you for protecting yourself.
Make sure they're crossing the threshold.
Yeah.
Fair track.
If there are no more questions, then. You have a question? Okay. Chief Stout has a question.
Your budget shortfalls, which the county does have budget shortfalls, what are the programs that you plan on putting in place and what programs are in place to make up for those differences? To be able to pay the rent, to be able to pay the salaries that simply the county commissioners aren't giving enough money to do.
Well, I can tell you right now, and we've got 24 employees, and one of the accounts, and I don't remember the numbers right offhand, but used to bring in $18,000 a month. Just brought in $5,000 for the last couple of months. So our taxes are down. There is, when we get core grants, we just lost the OG&E grant. They pulled Pawnee County and Noble County, and they're doing their own. They figured they could hire somebody cheaper than what they were paying us. They do still owe us a year's worth of money. I am fighting for to get that back right now. And as far as there's other programs out there, like the, I think it's the COP program, and it works good. I think it's 2 years, and then the third year, and don't quote me on it, it's either 2 or 3 years, but anyway, after that's over, the county's responsible for it to take over from there. So, you know, the jail, like I said, whenever the jail sales tax, it's helping us fund right now. And I'll tell y'all right now, I'm excited because in 2020, we'll have an $8 million facility paid off here in Pawnee County. And that was the goal, 20-year note, and we get it paid off in 10 years. So we're still pushing for that.
Thank you for the question. That's very important. I'll start by saying I commend Mike for bringing up earlier that he's not spending everything that comes in, because you have to do that to plan for those budget shortfalls. And I'm sure right about now you're probably very thankful that you ain't now spending. But outside of that, there are other grant programs that we can diligently search for and seek out the help. And bottom line, if it comes right down to it, before I just throw my hands up and say, we don't have the money, we can't do what we need to do, I'm not going to be bashful about coming to the people in this county and saying, we need more help. If I just get completely bashful and say, we're not going to do it anymore because we don't have the funds to do that, that doesn't address the issue. But I'm going to look for every available opportunity to get grants to help. I'm going to do like Mike said, conserve your spending and not try to keep up with the money coming in, because there will be a rainy day. I don't care. I don't care how it happens. It always goes through cycles. Sales tax may be down right now, but it'll pick back up. The oil field right now is in a terrible state, but guess what? I've worked oil field growing up, and I know that it goes through those cycles too. It'll pick back up, the spending will be back out there, the tax money will be back up. So we've just got to work on working diligently not to try to spend everything that comes in, so that when a rainy day comes around, we have that to work with.
As both of them said, grants are obviously a big issue. I've talked to a buddy of mine that works for another agency. That is his whole goal. That is his only sole job. He is a money getter and a money spender. He's already told me, anything you need help with, I'm a phone call away. I'll help you get every possible grant you can get. I'm not opposed to accepting donations from other agencies. If they've got decent cars they want to give us, that saves the taxpayers money and we have to go buy another one. Are those donations always there? No. But when they are, we've got to take advantage of it. There's agencies that will donate vests that are a year or two old where they've gotten the money to go buy a new one, they're willing to give those away. Anything we can get like that helps. But donations are obviously, or not donations, grants are going to be one of the biggest issues that will help us to obtain the funding we need as we need it.
If there are no more questions, then I appreciate you gentlemen coming tonight. I certainly learned a lot. I think it's very closing statement. You certainly may.
I'll let you go take care of business.
I appreciate that.
I'll take your turn. You do next.
I got one little more drink, excuse me.
It's an emergency. Guys, I want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come here and speak to you tonight. I want to thank you, those that you come forward with questions. They're very good questions. And as I said to this other gentleman, we are interviewing for a job, so to speak. It's way more than a job. It's something that's crucial and important. But I appreciate the questions that you ask, because it gives me the opportunity to let you know what each of us plan to do, why we want to do it, and why it's important. Darren touched on 12-hour shifts that didn't get a chance to come up earlier. I've got a plan in place to do that without actually changing the total number of hours the deputies work. There's no reason that we can't move to a 12-hour shift where you got 3 on, 4 off, and then the next week you're 4 on and 3 off. Obviously, the 4 on is going to have to cut back some hours at the end of one of those days to make it all balance out. But it'll be comp time coming in and comp time going out. This is what's going to do the best thing to help also cover the patrol time that we need, and to have someone actually on duty. Darren's been woke up I don't know how many times, and so have I. Because a call come in, we're on call, there's no officer out there, and that drastically increases your call time. We want to shorten those by having officers that are already out there. We want to shorten those response times by bringing in reserves that are actually working in the communities where we need them. The basin, for instance, there are a number of retired police officers that live out there in the basin. And that is one of the most distance drives that we can make from anywhere that the call comes in. Because we've got to go all the way around through Manfred and back in Pawnee County. By utilizing reserves, we'll shorten the response times. We will give you better coverage and better officers by taking care of the officers when we attract them, giving them quality training, the best training in the state, and keeping them there. I believe you were first, so I just took your turn.
I didn't want to step in front. We almost had an emergency there. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your schedule being here today. I gotta let everybody know, and I'm kind of proud of this, that the chief of police in Cleveland and the chief of police in the city of Pawnee both come from the Pawnee County Sheriff's Department. And we have the best working relationship with them gentlemen. I've called Stout in the middle of the night, and he's called me in the middle of the night. Same way with Chief Clymer over in Pawnee. So, we do work with other agencies, and we can't be everywhere at once. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Pawnee County is 595 square miles, 16,000 people. We've got 8 deputies, including my undersheriff, 9 counting me right now, because I am a drug task force agent shy.
Get a helicopter.
What?
Get a helicopter.
I tried. You know what those cost?
There we go.
One of the little ones. Yeah. But there you go. I was train of thought there. Helicopter flying. The city of Cleveland, I think, is about 3,200 people. I think it's 2.3 square miles. Yes, they do have officers around the clock. I'm going to tell you right now, we did do the 24-hour coverage, and we did it for about 8 months. It is not economically feasible to keep that going. I know everybody's talking about pro. We did it. It didn't work. The call log, 1, 2 calls, if there is, every 2 or 3 days, 4 days. Whenever my evening guys were getting hammered. So I took the hoop guy back off, put him on the evening, so now we have, the 3 people. Now, the 10-hour, 12-hour days, we have worked it inside and out, trying to find a way. And if everybody stays, does not get sick, does not take off work, or have vacation, then yes, it would work. And that is with the undersheriff involved in that. So, it has been worked. I know the city of Cleveland, they run shifts. We have plugged ours in. I plugged it in with Payne County. I tried an AB and a team, or a